Okie dokie, it's Saturday. We've got the old dude KB on hand, and we've got a ton of stuff. So we've got swap harness, ECU, K-Pro V4, got 45 elbow for the intake, sandwich plate, vacuum blank, vacuum hose, PVC tape, gauge holder, oil pressure, oil temperature gauges, radiator fan, my favourite thing in the world, cable ties, spark plugs, wheel nuts. That's basically all the random shit that I'm missing. Got a box of bits that Karlos has bought with him, just in case we need a few bits, air straps, stuff like that. Got the knuckles set out, ready to go back on finally. Now we've got good wheel bearings and matching ball joints. So fuel system's now completely done. Managed to get an AN fitting that plumbs in with a barb on the end of it. So we've just gone with the tube hose, if you want to call it that, straight onto the AN fitting on the return. So I think we're good there. Just got to put some PTFE tape on that. Oh, we've got a breather filter on the valve cover now. Not keen on it, but it was the only one I could find on eBay quickly that was available in the UK that had a 19mm neck on it, which was the crucial measurement. So, but that's ram air, that one, apparently. It's not going to ram air in, is it? It's going to let air vent out, but either way. So, yeah, we're going to start cracking on. Got to get the radiator out to put the fan on it and a few other bits and pieces. But we're hoping to get this puppy started this weekend. It's going to happen one way or another. We'll make it happen. So we're about 6 minutes in. We've capped off the purge solenoid thing on top of the throttle body, so that's not going to get used. So capped that off. Back to the wheel bearing woes. So I had the wheel bearings brand new to start with, and then I had to have the extended studs put on. So I had the bearing had to be popped out a little bit, and it wrecked that other side back bearing, and I could feel that before they were even on the card by moving the hub. This one I thought was good, so I only replaced that bearing, replaced this ball joint with another brand new one to match that one. But now we've put it on the car, you can see that this one, fucking, it's hard because I can't actually keep the camera still, but there's loads of movement in this one as well. So that now has to come off again, and we now have to get another brand new wheel bearing for this side. Joys. Sticking a bit of extra juice in the battery. It's brand spanking new, but it's been sat for a little while. So we just got the RC charger on duty, cranking a few milliamps up in there. KB's on trying to get the charging loom to reach. We didn't realise it would need modifying, just sort of thought it would work. I knew we had to modify the tabs in the fuse box, but it seems like we're going to have to do some crazy shit with this as well. But we're getting there now, so new TPS is on, that's blanked, that's got thread tape, what do they call it? That shit, white shit, Teflon tape. The radiator's got its fan on now, so that's all done. We've got all the hose clips all done up. Around here it's some changes. We have an exhaust manifold hanging off the back of the engine now. That's all bolted up, ready to go. And then we've got the sandwich plate around this side. Don't know how well we're going to see it now, because you can just see it there. We've got the D1 spec billet aluminium sandwich plate on there, and then we've got an oil pressure sensor and oil temperature sensor plugged in there, so we need to run wires for that into the cabin as well for the gauges. Fuel system's pretty much set to go. It's a bit funny because I reckon it's going to leak like shit, but we'll work it out. We've just got to figure out all the wiring. We're going to power back this charge harness and see what we can do with it. We're confident, well I say we, Karlos is confident we can make it work. I'm a little doubtful right now, but that's my pessimistic attitude towards everything. So yeah, we'll have another little update when we've got a few more bits done. So it turns out that you can make a bog standard unmodified EP3 charge harness fit an EK K-swap or an EJ9 K-swap. You just have to change the routing of the wire slightly. So the positive terminal from the fuse box goes there, black one that goes down to either the starter or the alternate, I can't remember which now offhand, but it's one or the other. That also going there. We've got to modify the tabs, so you have to cut the angle off, so you've got the flat blade, and then you just put a little hole through there, and then that'll go in there, lovely jubbly. Same with the other one. But you come down over the top of the gearbox, down underneath, and then when you get round to here, you've got the alternator connections up this side, knock sensor, and 2 on the starter motor there. So what we're going to do is we're going to clip all this lot together, cable tie it up there out of the way nicely. The only thing that's a little bit of an unknown at the moment is whether or not these 2 engine loom plugs will have enough length from that position to reach the actual plugs on the harness, because they're normally attached to this thing down here. So they're quite a bit higher up, but we'll get the rest of the harness out and see where we're at with it and take it from there. Oh, that's an awesome start. just got Karlos going, Peter, totally randomly. Right, so a little update. We had a pretty big party last night, so me and Karlos are feeling a bit special. But intake has appeared. We've made that this morning. Got the standard temp sensor bunged in there. Nothing else really changed up here apart from the earth straps. We've got one going from the gearbox to the chassis rail. Got another one going from somewhere there to there, and then we've got the one off the battery going down onto the side of the chassis rail down there. We've got power to the car, but we're getting no power to the fuel pump. We've put the multimeter on the plug, no power there. Multimeter on the fuse in the fuse box, no power there. So we reckon might be something in the K-Pro that's immobilised the fuel pump or something. So we're gonna plug her in and check that out, make sure the ECU's got power and all that stuff first, and we'll go from there. Right, we're now on day 3 of this malarkey. Karlos is under the car, just trying to plug in some sensor wires that we've just made up for the pressure and oil pressure and oil temp sensors. We've got the fan all wired in now. So what we've had to do is we had to cut a plug off of the other loom to go to the thermo switch. So we've run a thermo switch wire up here through this conduit, and then we've tagged it onto this loom, the charge loom, and then it crosses over onto the engine loom, and then we've sent it into the car. So we're going to give that a permanent, a switched live in there. And then you run the other side of the plug through to the fan power. So that powers the fan, which is this one just poking out here. I've left that out because I may change the connection on it shortly, but we'll use that one for now. And then you just ground it. So we've just grounded it on the gearbox there because the wire wasn't long enough to reach the chassis, but it's on top of the chassis ground, so hopefully, fingers crossed, that should be good. So we should now have a working fan. Coolant temperature sensor is now plumbed in, so just literally got a banana plug off of the sensor there in the water neck, and that goes down and taped that onto the engine loom as well, so that follows the same route and that goes into the car. So that is already plumbed into the coolant temp sensor wire on the conversion harness. So once we finish doing those wires, we should then be good to get inside the car to sort out the last bit of wiring for the fuel pump. So yesterday we had an absolute nightmare with the fuel pump wiring because we had no power going to it. Now what apparently needs to be done is there's a particular wire in here that needs to be grounded. Now what's interesting is this instruction sheet, which comes with the BWE one, says that the FPR, which is the fuel pump relay, needs to connect to A16 of the connector A. Now we've worked out that connector A is this grey plug, but on some cars it seems to be the green one. I think maybe pre-facelift they have loads more wires going into the other side of that plug, whereas this car has this separate grey plug. However, in position 16 is a green-brown plug, not green-yellow. It's not focusing, but that's a green-brown wire. The actual green-yellow wire that we need is in here. So the green-yellow wire is that one, where my thumb is just there, which is not position 16. Position 16 I think is the one next door, or the 2 next door, can't remember. I think it's that one there where it's missing. So we've tried plugging this relay wire into a few and it doesn't do anything, so we're just going to take that off. We're going to run this FPR wire to the green yellow wire there. I had to email the guy at BWE. First thing he said was to actually ground that wire and just see what happens. He said the pump should run, but then you've got to plug in this FPR wire to that. So we're gonna run through that shortly once we've done the rest of the wires, and then it's just a whole bunch of tidying up wires. We've got the gauge pod in now. This is the cheap one off eBay, and you can see why. It's angled. It's the only one that's actually angled the gauges towards the driver, so that's why I got that one in particular, in honesty. But I don't think it's nothing a bit of hot glue can't fix. So we'll probably just have to stick a couple of dobs on the back of the gauges just to hold them in, and also to hold the plate into the fascia, and then I think we should be good. So hopefully in not too long we should have fuel pump on key, and we should be able to start the engine. Right, we're at a crucial moment. We've pretty much covered everything now. We've put oil in it. We filled the gearbox with some Torco MTF as required by the M factory diff and all that malarkey. Everything's all wired in. Earths are all done. We've sorted out the fuel pump situation. That now runs. We did just give it a couple of cranks without the injectors plugged in, just so it's not going completely from nothing with, you know, oil, try and build a bit of pressure or whatever. But this is going to be the first live start. Are you excited?
Yeah, man. It's going to happen.
I'm fucking excited. And also shit in my pants. You can hold that.
Yep.
Right, let's see what it does.
Suck, squeeze, bang, blow.
Okay. So
We've got fuel. That'll be...
At the exhaust?
Yeah.
Fuck, that's going to be loud, isn't it?
Yeah.
That sounded like it was leaking on the manifold, didn't it, this side? To be honest. Key's gone fucking janky now. There we go. Right, ready?
Yeah.
Where's that puffing coming from? Oh, is it coming out of that?
Yeah. Oh, it sounds like there. Go on.
Sounds
just
like
fire
it wants to go.
Yeah. Bit of key banging. Oh, so it, yeah,
something's stopping, mate.
Yeah. Oh, let me just open the throttle a little bit. So you.
It sounded like it was something was getting caught.
Yeah. Just try it once more, and I'll just open the throttle just a little bit, because we could have, I don't know, some sort of vac leak, or it smells pretty petrol-y.
You've got a base wrap on it?
Yeah, got standard EP3 tune on it. So
where's the smoke coming from?
Well, there's going to be grease and shit from the manifold, when our greasy hands when we installed it, so don't worry about that setting on fire. Oh fuck! Stop.
What?
I had like full bore flames coming from the throttle body.
Oh.
Yes.
That sounds bad.
Yeah.
Okay, turn that off then. Okay, so we have compression, we have fire, but it's coming out of the intake through the throttle body. It's coming outwards, which is the wrong way.
Yeah.
But it's cranking and it's firing, but we do have a bit of a problem. We're not quite sure what it is or how to fix it just yet. So we're going to pause that for a minute. We're going to try and figure out what's what.
Bit of head scratching.
Yeah, and we'll see where we go. But fingers crossed, it's got fire.
Yeah.
So that means the air pump can make some power at some point. Maybe not right now, but
no, I need to put it in the right direction.
Fingers crossed. And it's going to be very loud as well, because we've got just the manifold open at the end. So
open headers, bro.
Yeah, man. We'll see how we go. So considering the engine's broken, we decided to try and fit some gauges. So many little connections later, lots of wire strippy. We've now got 3 gauges. So we've just got to run the sensor wires to the gauges, and then we're good to look at no data, because there's no engine that works in it. So
no, I've ran the wires.
Yeah, no, I just couldn't, yeah, but with the sensors aren't going to read anything because the engine's broken. Big sad. Never mind, we're getting there. Well, good morning. Welcome back to the Captain's Vlog. It's Saturday on another weekend. Car's been sat for a week. Just bring you up to speed. Last week we tried to get the engine started. it didn't go well. We had flames coming out of the throttle body and all sorts. So we think the timing's out, clearly out. I mean, we did check it when we did the valve clearances, and it sort of looked like it was all right. So we just sort of went with it, but clearly there's something majorly not right with it. So next weekend, this weekend, I'm just going to get everything ready for the engine to come back out. So next weekend, Karlos is going to come back with his engine crane. We're going to pull the motor out. We're going to strip all the timing covers off, crank pulley off and all of that. We're going to do new main seal, new rear seal, the VTC solenoid seal, and we're going to replace the timing chain and the tensioner as well. And we'll have a look at the guides. I think the guides are all right from what we could see before, but we're going to take it from there. So hopefully with all of them parts done, we can get the engine back in same weekend, and hopefully we should get it fired up. Now I do have a slight issue with the fuel system. We've got some parts here which have just come this week. So we've got the timing chain, tensioner, and some new fuel fittings. Now these are the ones that adapt the hard line to the AN fitting, and I think either the pipe wasn't cut perfectly straight, or I didn't deburr it correctly, or the olive wasn't sat quite where it needed to be when I tightened it up, because it's leaking from the back side or the bottom side of that hardline adapter down the fuel line. We had 1 or 2 leaks elsewhere in the system, but we've now fixed those, so they're all good. We've just got to fix that one. If these don't work, I've seen in America the Hybrid Racing Channel, their EJ9 K-swap, they literally just sent the fuel line, the rubber line, down through the bottom of the firewall, cut the pipe on the straight flat section underneath the passenger seat here, and then just Jubilee clipped it on. So my theory being, if these AM fittings are not going to play ball, then I will just do the same, but I'll double clip it to make sure we don't get any leaks. Although they didn't mention that car leaked either way. So we've also now got the correct spark plugs. There's 2 different types, but apparently one has the wrong gap. These are the ones I got from Jap Service Parts as apparently being the right ones. These are the 2667 BKR7s, and these are the dash 11, same part number if you look, BKR7EIX, but it's the dash 11 6988 heat range 7, but they've got a particular plug gap which is better for running with the associated mods that we've got. Honda Bond, self-explanatory. Tiger seal. Now we've got that in order to fix the age-related marks on the factory body seal or the seam sealer. We've got 1 or 2 areas where it's just age-related. It's just drying out. It's just started to open up and get a bit of a gap through it. So spoke to my body shop man. He suggested to use that. So we're going to bosh that on there and get that fixed. Got some more clips without the slots in, so these are flush all the way through the inside so they don't chew up any silicone. These are for the air intake, so I've got 3 more to finish that off, and then this is the last remaining part from the engine bay in order to get a fully functioning OEM-ish setup. So that's the vacuum line that goes from the inlet manifold to the brake servo. So that's this weekend's plan. We're just going to get a few bits buttoned up. Oh, also, actually, I'll show you this. We've got a bit of a mess inside the car today. We sort of run out of time a bit last weekend. We got the gauges in late in the day. They're in, their power up, but I just got to connect all the sensors up to it and put in the secondary harness for the AEM and drop that through. And that's because that's the part that the wideband sensor plugs into, and also the analog outputs to go to the ECU, so that the ECU can read AFR readings. So we'll bosh all that together, and then I can put that back in the dashboard and tidy everything up into here, and then sort out a bit of tidying under the ECU wiring and stuff like that. So yeah, a few little jobs, but we'll get there. This thing will run. We will make it work. I am confident that between me and my mates, we've got the tools, the parts, and the knowledge to make it happen. So let's get on it. Little update today. We are seam sealing or repairing some seam sealer. Don't know if I showed you before, but there was about 4 or 5 points in the car where the factory seam sealer had started to shrink and opening a couple of gaps. So we've just got some Tiger Seal in there. There was some dodgy crazing all around this bit here, and then there was a slight pinhole just there, so we've given that a right good fill in. That's just drying up now. Obviously we've done all the way up there, down that seam, and then all the way up to the corner there as well. And then same on this side. This side wasn't anywhere near as bad, but I don't think it's as open to the elements and doesn't have a battery there. But you can see just down in that corner there, and then down onto the chassis leg as well. There's 1 or 2 points just there that I've just spotted actually. Just there, let me see, which I've forgotten to do, so I'll just waz them as well. One there on this corner, which is all hidden by the scuttle anyway, but I did manage to get some grey Tiger Seal, so we're all good there. And then there was 1 or 2 patches just around the rear light area here, so I filled those in. Have a couple of little gaps down there. This is where the quarter panel meets the roof panel. I've just gone over that just as a matter of course, don't want no water in the boot. And then same again there. And then there was 1 sketchy little bit inside the car actually. I don't know why this was like this, but you can sort of just see there. That factory seam sealer was awful. It was all over the shop. Other side's real neat and tidy, but I think this was always just been a little bit substandard. The quality control must have fallen over that day at Honda, but we've just boshed a bit in there as well, so it should be good. So next job is to tidy up the dashboard wiring for all the gauges and then get them back in the dashboard, then we should be Gucci. Let's crack on. So do you remember my little plate that I made up for the doodah, the wire harness hole? Well, them plugs are so damn big that my original plan failed, so I've had to cut a massive square in this plate, which I made originally, just to get the plugs through. But then I've made this second plate just now that's got a much smaller opening on it. So the idea being that once the wires are all in through the hole, we can put that one on there so the plugs go through, and then this one, one-handed, this one then goes over it and then makes the hole much smaller. So the plan then being that once this is finally in position and all of the wiring is through, it will then be pulled from the car. Well, this end will be pulled from the car again, and this is all going to be silicone sealed to this metal plate. So this will then stay attached to the harness and to the car. Obviously removed by 2 bolts, so you can get the wires in and out of the car if needs be. So you've got to remove the engine for whatever reason, you can just take this plate off and it will stay attached to the wiring loom. So there we go, a little bit of extra time mucking about, but my little keyhole trick and access hole. Okay, I've had to make 2 plates, it's not the most elegant of solutions, but I think it's going to work quite well and should at least stop any crap getting in my car. So I'll be pretty happy with that. Just a really minor update before we finish this video out. I thought I'd fix the fuel system with that new hardline adapter, and it would appear that I was wrong, because if we get right down in there, you can just see a little bit of liquid touching the side of the plastic clip there. So it's obviously still somehow leaking out the bottom. The hose only feels mildly damp just on that one side, dry all around here, so I'm not quite sure what's happened there. Gonna have to find another solution, because that's no good. We cannot run with that, so gonna have to find another solution for sure. But so yeah, so that's that done. So we're gonna end this episode right there, and we'll come back once we've had the weekend and we've got Karlos here again, because that engine's coming out again. We're going to do all the time, we're going to get it all fixed up, and we're going to put it back in there. I'm also going to try and find a solution for that fuel pipe between now and then. Wish me luck. This car's fighting me, man. It don't want to get together, does it, eh?